Web Marketing That Works podcast, episode 119, with today's guest, Josh Turner.
Welcome to the Web Marketing That Works podcast. Come behind the scenes of real-life marketing experiments and listen in as amazing guests confess the truth about what really works. Now, here are your hosts, Adam Franklin and Toby Jenkins.
Hey, it's Adam Franklin here on the Web Marketing That Works podcast, joined again today by my co-host, Toby Jenkins. How are you, Toby?
Good, Ads. Good to be here. Just come out of a swim, actually, up at Centenary Pool in Brisbane. So it's good to jump on the call.
Very good. Yeah, I've just been out in the surf as well, so feeling alive. This is the show for people who love marketing on the web. You'll be taken behind the scenes of real-life marketing experiments. We'll look at the good, the bad, and the ugly. We confess what's failed and reveal the truth about what really works. This show is brought to you by our book that Tobes and I wrote. It's called Web Marketing That Works. And the gift for you, our listener, is the bundle of 33 marketing templates. And if you haven't downloaded them already, I encourage you to head over to bluewiremedia.com.au/book, and you can download all of those for free. The other thing actually worth mentioning is that we have our web marketing 2-day bootcamp coming up in March. So we haven't mentioned that on the podcast yet. Tickets are on sale, and Tobes and I will be running that live in person in North Sydney. So if you want to come along and check that out, just head to our website. All the details are there. But we'll basically be spending 2 days covering a lot of the concepts in the book, as well as taking all your questions and doing activities. And you'll walk away with a whole bunch of stuff, like particularly your web marketing strategy and your social media strategy, all documented, as well as a 90-day action plan. So Tobes, today's guest is actually a repeat offender, a return guest. His name's Josh Turner, and he was on the show previously when his first book called Connect came out. And it was all about using LinkedIn, and it actually became a Wall Street Journal bestseller. Anyway, he's got a new book out at the moment. It will actually release this week. So depending on when you're listening to this podcast, it is currently February the 9th. And if you want to download the book for free, then the details are on the show. So basically, Josh is the founder of a company called Linked Selling. And I had the good fortune to spend a couple of days with him in Chicago at that mastermind last year, Toby, that Danny Inney ran. And I really like Josh Turner. We're in a mastermind, an online mastermind group together. And because, we teach a lot of social media, he's really from the same mindset that social media is. It needs to be a tool to actually get you real business outcomes, like meetings and appointments and getting through to the right decision makers. So a lot of the stuff we cover on today's podcast actually talks through all of those sorts of things.
Yeah, cool, lads. Well, what's one thing that listeners can listen out for in the show?
One of the parts that I really liked was the concept of being a peer, not a vendor. So forming that relationship on the same level as the people that you hope to service, as opposed to coming in from like being a vendor or a salesperson and sort of, always pitching for the sale. So that's one of the many highlights. Keep an eye out for that. And Josh actually talks through all 5 stages of his social media process that he uses for himself and for his clients, and that he's actually releasing in a new online program. There's 5 steps to actually using social media and digital marketing to get more appointments and meetings. You can get your hands on Josh Turner's book called Booked at bluewiremedia.com.au/Josh. If you're listening to this between the 9th and 11th of February 2016, then it's free on Kindle. If you're after that period, you can still download the free Cliff Notes version of his book, and you'll also be linked off to Kindle, where you'll be able to get the book for probably $4 or $5 or thereabouts. Still fantastic value. So that's what you need to do to get the book. But for now, let's head over to the show.
Sounds great.
My name's Adam Franklin, and on the line, I am joined by Josh Turner. How's things, Josh?
Things are good, Adam. How are you?
Great. Now, thanks for coming on the show for a second time. You were on last year.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Last year, the book was called Connect, and congratulations on it becoming a Wall Street Journal bestseller. And of course, you've got a new book coming out very, very soon called Booked. I'd love to talk at the start about what Booked actually covers.
Sure, absolutely, man. Yeah, so Booked is really just the entire system, the blueprint for the work that we've been doing for our clients for a number of years. So I'm the founder and CEO of a company called Linked Selling, an agency. Companies hire us to help them get in front of prospects, generate leads, and book sales appointments so they can get more clients. And we've really been refining and perfecting the system over the last few years. And, a lot of folks know my work and know of my company as specialists in LinkedIn specifically. And my last book, Connect, was about LinkedIn marketing strategies. And this book is a bit more holistic because, behind the scenes, we've been helping clients with a lot of other stuff too. And the fact of the matter is that any business that is just a one-trick pony, I think is on kind of, shaky ground. The foundation's going to crack at some point if you don't have kind of multiple marketing strategies and tactics that you're employing. And the same is true for our business. We've been helping our clients with other things like Facebook and email strategies as well in a really integrated way on top of the work that we do for them on LinkedIn. And this book outlines the entire system, nuts and bolts, soup to nuts, whatever you want to say. It's the whole thing, the kitchen sink. And it's a great book. I can't wait to get it in people's hands. At least I think it's good. And the feedback I've gotten so far has been really good. And it talks about why it works. It talks about the philosophy and, the urgency behind why small businesses need to have a system like this in place, or their business is really in jeopardy long term. But it's more than just the big picture. It's also a really tactical book, so it does a good job of balancing the two, not just, how-to manual, but it's also not just a big fluffy kind of big picture type of book.
Awesome. We'll, of course, have links where people can download it. We'll discuss that later in the show. But I often speak to audiences about social media, and a lot of the time people think it is really fluffy stuff, and they think, well, social media is just about, tweeting and sharing stuff, and there's no real way to tie it back to appointments or to sales or to revenue. But of course, your book actually looks at how to use social media specifically to get these appointments, which of course leads to clients and revenue. So I'm really excited by the fact that you are helping give social media more meat, I guess, more legitimacy in the minds of the people that will be reading it. That sort of kickback that, social media is this, that, and the other, that if it is fluffy, it doesn't actually have business results.
Well, most of the stuff that's out there, I think that is absolutely the case. And I agree with that, contention when most people say it in terms of the stuff that they've been told in the past. Because, when I was first starting my business, I didn't start this company and think I'm going to create a company to help businesses generate leads using LinkedIn and Facebook and email. I was working as a business consultant. I was an outsourced CFO is what I called myself. And that was back in 2010. And initially, I tried doing the stuff that a lot of people say you should do, all the kind of fluffy social media stuff that I know you're talking about, like engaging with people and, just sharing out lots of content and, all that kind of stuff. And I tried getting active on Twitter, and I tried, coming up with funny comments and funny things to say to, hopefully people would like me and then want to do business with me. It just doesn't really work. I mean, the internet is a wasteland of businesses that have tried that strategy, set up a Facebook page where they post every day about something about their business and how great they are. And then they, sit back and see that it's getting them no results. And they say, well, this is obviously not working. Maybe it only works for the people they're teaching the stuff. Right. And the businesses that have massive budgets and can throw a bunch of money at advertising and stuff. And so I had that experience when I was first starting my business. And I saw, though, that, there is an opportunity here with tools like LinkedIn, tools like Facebook to do things differently than just kind of spray and pray and just put stuff out there and kind of hope that some things happen. And I basically started building a system to where I would go reach out to the exact types of people that I want to do business with, like at a very granular level, like one-on-one, this exact person is somebody that I want to get to know and build a relationship with so that maybe they'd be open to doing business with me at some point down the road. And so I started doing that. I mean, I started working these strategies that I developed on LinkedIn. Over time, I had a couple clients that I was doing finance work for that said, this stuff that you're doing on LinkedIn looks pretty interesting. Do you think it could work for our business? And, I kind of put together a plan for them. And they said, this makes sense. We trust you, but we don't really know how to do this. So why don't you just do it for us? And I thought, well, that's interesting. So I gave it a shot, and the business has really taken off since then. And I think the number one reason for it is that it's not, our focus, the stuff that we teach is not about, like engagement and content and, just like putting stuff out there and hoping something happens. It's not just about creating like brand awareness. It's like brass tacks. I'm going to go out and I'm going to bring people into my network and systematically build relationships with them and move them through processes that are going to culminate in me getting on the phone with them and talking business. And if it doesn't achieve that result, then we're going to change the system. And so over the years, we've tweaked and refined and done a lot of work to get things to where they're at today. And I think one of the reasons our company has grown so fast is that the stuff that we do is a lot different than a lot of that other stuff out there.
Yeah, I really like what that's about, because one of the things that I believe with social media is it's fantastic because you can connect with virtually anybody else on the planet. But just because you're able to do that doesn't mean that you can do business with anybody on the planet. It does take relationships, and it does take reaching out to people and delivering value and processes to actually firstly get on their radar, and secondly to earn the trust to even being open to doing business with you in the first place. And that's what I like about what you teach, because it's not just social media doing all the grunt work. It's a very important part of the system, but you as a business owner are expected to be in there doing a lot of the selling, doing a lot of the relationship building as well. And I think all of these ingredients or pieces of the puzzle working together is where you get the really powerful outcomes. So maybe we can have a bit of a deeper dive into what the system looks like, say for a typical business that you work with, your selling agency. Yeah, what type of things do you set up for these clients, and what does that process look like?
Well, there's 5 components to the system that I'm teaching and booked. And it's number one, it's the foundation. It's making sure that you put the right things in place so that you're going to put your best foot forward, so that you know who to target, the kind of stuff that they care about, what really makes them tick, and that, you've got yourself properly positioned to implement the rest of the system. The second component of the system is what we call creating your authority leadership platform. And what we found is that, if you can position yourself as a leader in your market or your industry, if you can position yourself as more of a peer than just another vendor that's coming to try and sell something, then when you reach out to prospects, they're going to be much more open to talking business with you. And it goes all the way from the point of the initial outreach to where you make that connection first, whether it's Facebook, LinkedIn, or wherever. People, when they see your info pop up on their screen that says, hey, Adam wants to connect with you, they're going to make an assessment of, is this somebody that I want to connect with? And if it looks like you're somebody that's about to try and sell them something, your response rate is going to be lower. One way to eliminate that issue is to position yourself as more of a peer, so that when people see your information come across, they will think, well, this is somebody I'm going to get some value from being connected with, or this is somebody who's a real player in the industry. So I can see some benefit in being connected to this person. And your response rate goes way up when you can achieve that. And the mechanism that we use and that we teach for our clients and our students to quickly and systematically get that kind of positioning for themselves in their business is what we call the authority leadership platform. And I go into depth in the book on how to set it up and all the different components of that. Then the third part of the system is the database building and prospecting. So once you have your platform in place, your foundation in place, then you have to have the tools to go out and continually bring new prospects into that funnel. And that's the key, because having a system to continually bring new prospects into your business, it's really half the battle. And Adam, I know that you know about the study that we released a week or so ago. We surveyed over 1,300 business owners, and we found that 88% of them reported that they struggle maintaining consistent cash flow. And when we looked at, well, what's the difference between those businesses and the 12% who said that they do not have problems with cash flow, one thing really stood out. And that was that the businesses who do not have cash flow problems, who are, let's just call it what it is, they're succeeding at a higher level, they're more profitable. Those businesses, almost all of them, have systems in place to generate consistent leads and appointments so that they can get more clients. So they have solid marketing and lead generation systems in place. Now, when we asked that same question of the 88% of businesses that struggle with cash flow, nearly all of them said that they do not have those kinds of systems in place. So having the kinds of systems that we teach in this book, and specifically in the section on database building and prospecting, having a strategy for continually bringing new prospects into your business is one of the things that sets successful businesses apart from those who haven't quite made it yet. So that's the third component of the system. Then the fourth is the messaging machine, where we teach our students how to actually take all these prospects, this database build you've built, this authority, this leadership positioning that you've created for yourself, and then how to systematically work those prospects through messaging campaigns that are going to drive them into consultations and strategy sessions, appointments, whatever you want to call it. And then the fifth component is what we call the email blueprint. So everything I just talked about can be implemented on either LinkedIn, Facebook, both of them, or any other place that you can reach your prospects online. So it's really platform agnostic. But in the fifth component of the system, we teach how to layer email on top of it to increase your results by anywhere from 10 to 20% of additional appointments that you'll generate. And the key there is just that, like I said towards the beginning of our conversation, if you are only reaching your prospects in one place, then you're on a one-legged stool. It's going to fall over eventually. But if you are touching them in multiple places, response rate's going to go way up. The percentage of prospects that agree to meet with you and talk business with you is going to go way up, and you're going to get more clients as a result of it. That's why in business school they call it a marketing mix, right? Because a successful business has multiple marketing channels at play, and that's all we're doing here.
Very, very interesting. So, Josh, what would you say is the most challenging part of this system, the most challenging part to implement?
Sure. Well, it does take work. There's no doubt about it. That is the challenge really for most people, is just committing to putting in the time to do it. For when I look at people that maybe don't succeed, it's not because they followed through and they implemented, they stuck with it and they worked the system. It's because they didn't stick with it. They didn't put in the work and didn't follow through with it. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there that fall into that bucket for one reason or another. And I'm not a therapist, so I can't say exactly what the reasons for that are. I'm not in that kind of a business. Maybe there's somebody a little more woo-woo than me that could speak to that. But I'll tell you that implementing this system is going to take, to get set up, you're looking at probably a handful of hours a week for the first month to get everything off the ground. Then on an ongoing basis, clients of ours that are working the system are spending approximately 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week to work the process. But, that's time very, very well spent that they can directly tie to real results, real sales appointments and conversations, and new clients, and when they look at some of their other marketing activities, it's a little harder to make that direct correlation. And another thing I like to tell people is that really, you're not looking at spending more time by doing this, because you're already spending a bunch of time using social media, and most of that time is probably wasted. I saw a study recently, so the average person spends 3-point-something hours a day on social media. And so just take a half hour or so of that time and reallocate it in a way that's going to be more effective, and you'll get some great results for your business without really putting in any more time than you're already spending. It's just kind of reallocating that time. So that's a great way to look at it. So, that's a long-winded say of the biggest challenge I think people have is just doing it. I think there's a lot of people out there that maybe are looking for some sort of a magic bullet where you just buy some program and push a button and it automatically generates clients for you. And I don't know anything. I don't know anything out there that actually does that.
No.
And this doesn't do it either.
It's a good point you make of reallocating the time that you're already spending / wasting on social media. And if it's 3 hours a day, that's a phenomenal amount of time that we're spending. I actually noticed last year that I was spending too much time on my Facebook newsfeed, on my phone and on my laptop. And there was the two things that I've done that bought back hours per week. And the first is installing the Facebook newsfeed eradicator, and that's an installation on my laptop. So if, like I used to, I would just default to checking out what's on my Facebook newsfeed. But now if I go to Facebook, it comes up, it blocks it. It won't let me look at it, and it will give me some sort of motivational / productivity quote to make sure, to remind me to get back to what I ought to be doing. And that alone, I reckon, buys me back hours per week. And then I notice, instead of logging on, once I'd get knocked back on my computer, I'd then log on to my newsfeed on my telephone, and then I'd be distracted on my phone, and it would get me that way. But I subsequently have got into the habit of, I put the Facebook icon a few scrolls deep on my phone, and I log out of it once I'm done. So then, well, first I've got to swipe 3 or 4 times to get to it. And then once I click the Facebook button on my phone, I've then got to actually log in. So there's a couple of reminder points along the way that I haven't made it quite as accessible or quite as easy to access. And it's literally hours and hours per week that I've now got in extra time because I'm not getting sucked into that Facebook vortex, which I think so many of us get bogged down in.
Yeah, I really like that. I mean, if you can set up barriers like that for yourself, that's a great fix. And it's just, I mean, you were honest with yourself about the, hey, you got to figure out a way to kind of trick yourself and game the system so that you spend less time doing that. I love that.
Yeah, because they make it awfully sticky, don't they? Facebook, you get it, and then all of a sudden, man, hours fly past. So Josh, from your personal point of view, what sort of things are you doing with social media to either get leads into your funnels or to build your authority, or how are you practicing this 5-step framework yourself?
Yeah, I mean, well, we use the system in our business, exactly as we teach it, we use it. And it's been working for me ever since I started my business. It was one of the first things that allowed me to get my first couple of clients in the door. The LinkedIn strategies specifically that we teach were the thing that allowed me to keep my lights on and get the first client that paid my bills. That literally allowed me to stay in business and, allowed me to then get my next couple clients and start growing the business from there. And so it's definitely a system that I owe a lot to for sure. And, from there, we've built the company and grown into, more and more and more things. I always tell people the system that I teach in this book it's one system. There's different ways of getting clients out there for sure. But this is one of the few I know that is completely systematic and step by step. We give people exactly what to do every day as they're implementing the system, at least, our clients and students in our programs and such. And, there's the feedback that we get from a lot of people is that, there's not a lot of stuff out there that is quite like, our programs and the way we teach things. But it's just because it just comes from that background I had of, I got to do something to get some clients. I can't be messing around with stuff that's just for fluff, And so we've built our company. I mean, we've tripled in revenue every year for the last 3 years. And, so we continue to implement the same processes that we teach in the book. But, we've got a lot of other irons in the fire too at this point. Once you get into the 7-figure mark, you need more than just one marketing tactic that you're employing, as I've talked about before. And at this point, we have a bunch of them. I mean, we do a lot with webinars. We do a lot with, partners such as yourself, Adam. We do a lot with, book publishing is a big thing for us. Live events and workshops, almost, you name it. I mean, we've tried so many things that have failed in the past over the years, but I think that's another thing that really separates successful businesses from those that are maybe struggling a little bit, is that businesses that are willing to try new things and are willing to fail and are willing to just get back on the horse again are over time going to, they're going to perform better than those that are afraid to try new things or think they maybe are set in their ways that this is how I do things, so I'm just going to stick with this. I mean, we're constantly trying new things. And the way I look at it is if 1 out of every 3 big initiatives that we try works out, then it's all good that the other 2 didn't work out, because it's going to more than pay for the other ones. So we do a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I love the fact that you're always trying new things and experimenting with them. So just out of curiosity, does your whole business Linked Selling, is that like the entity that runs the the training programs and the agency side of things and the book? Is it all the one company?
Yeah, I mean, it's technically all one company. Yeah, it's technically all one company, and then we kind of have different names for the different divisions. Like Linked Selling is our agency for done-for-you services, and then our programs for people that are just want to learn how to do it themselves. are under different names, like the appointment generator is one of them, for example. And then, the books are just under the same umbrella too.
Right. And so what sort of percentage breakdown in terms of revenue, say, does most of your revenue come from the done for you service, and now the sort of training and education part is growing, or are they equal, or what does that look like for your business?
Overall, the agency is the biggest part of our business in terms of revenue. It can vary, though, depending on certain promotions that we have going on, because there will be some months throughout the year where the sales from training programs will be higher than the agency, but that's usually not the case.
Yeah. And of course, is it fair to say there's a lot more for the revenue you bring in for the agency side of things? There's a lot more work, a lot more expense in delivering that work versus sort of just providing access to an online training program? Is that accurate or not so much?
I think it is, but it isn't. So there's, obviously for the done for you agency services, it's a more high end type of a program for companies that have the budget to hire us to just do it all for them. We have a fairly decent sized team. Our office is based out of St. Louis. We have probably half of our team is in St. Louis and the other half is just virtual around the US. And so, we have certainly a decent amount of overhead and expenses and such that go into, running a business. But the training side of the business it's not, the passive income dream that everybody thinks it is. I mean, we run it like a real business where we have costs because we provide a lot of support to the folks, the businesses, and the students that join our programs, because we've seen that for them to be as successful as possible, they need to work with our team a bit more closely, and that just giving people, here's some videos to watch, isn't the best way for people to succeed. So in our programs, we pair up everybody that joins with a dedicated coach on our team. We give people email support, and we work with them through the process. So, even on the training program side of the business, on the education side, we still have a lot of overhead because, we like to provide that level of support. Yeah,
that's cool to hear. I love the fact that you don't just buy something and then you're high and dry. There's, that support, which I think is the key. As I study more about education and training, that support model and that, teacher that cares about her students or his students seems to get vastly better results than just sort of giving people access to a whole bunch of information and overwhelming them and then, not take any action. And sure, you get the money up front, but it doesn't lead to lifelong clients and lifelong students of the material. So I think that fact alone that you're holding their hand essentially and taking them through the program will be very beneficial for the student, but also for your business.
Yeah, it's huge. And more companies are kind of going down that road. And I think it's because people out there, have been around the block enough times by now that they're kind of suspect. If you're going to try and sell somebody something that's just, here's a bunch of videos, unless I'm just a complete self-starter, which, I am, but folks that have been down the block before are going to realize, maybe the last couple things I bought, I didn't actually do anything with them and I didn't get much results out of them. And so people become more cautious and jaded, and then the market as a whole, the opportunity dries up to be able to sell like that. And so I think more and more businesses are going to start, adopting that kind of a model.
I really like to learn in that format as well. So Josh, let's finish up by talking about Booked and how people can get their hands on it and when it becomes available.
Yeah, man, for sure. So, like I mentioned, Booked is really the entire playbook for the system that we're using to get some awesome results for our clients. It's a digital marketing and social media appointment setting system. So if you need to get in front of more prospects, if you need more leads, if you need to get on the phone and, if you need to be booking more strategy sessions, basically, if you're in the business of getting clients, and the way you get clients is by getting on the phone or getting face-to-face with prospects, then this is the kind of system that you need. And the book walks you through the whole thing. And it's not just a high level overview. I get into the nitty gritty. There's a lot of scripts in there that you can use. Make sure you customize them for your own business though. But there's templates for everything in the book. And we really, didn't pull any punches with it. So I'm super excited to get it into anybody's hands. It's just released yesterday and for the first few days. So I think for 2 more days, it's actually available for free. And I know, Adam, that you got a link set up to give to your listeners so that they can get it. So Adam will give you that link here in a sec. I would just love for anybody that needs to get some more clients and, thinks that the way of doing business that I've talked about today resonates with you, then I'd love for you to pick up a copy.
Yeah, great. So the link, if you're listening, is bluewiremedia.com.au/Josh. And the actual release dates, depending on when people are listening to this, the release date we're talking about is the 6th to the 8th of February 2016. Is it, Josh?
It is the 8th through the 11th that the book will be free.
Okay, 8th through the 11th of February 2016. So if you're after that, go ahead and buy it online. It's totally worth it. And if you're in this window, which is when the podcast comes out, then jump on to bluewiremedia.com.au/Josh, and you'll be given all the information you need to get your hands on the book.
Yeah, awesome, man. And I would just recommend too that even if it's after the 11th and you're listening to this, I would still go to that link because, we'll still have some additional bonus training that you can sign up for there. So, if you want to just buy the book on Amazon, that's fine. But go to that link too and sign up for some of the bonus training.
Oh, great call. Yeah. If that material's still going to be out there, that's absolutely what I recommend doing as well. All right, Josh, is there anything that we haven't covered or anything you want to get off your chest before we call it a day?
Oh, man, just like any general complaints or concerns, now's the time.
Exactly. Now's your chance to get it off your chest, mate.
No, man, I appreciate you, having me on and being so generous and letting me share my message with your community, Adam. So thanks for having me, man.
You're welcome. We appreciate you sharing all of your valuable insights with our community as well. So thank you, and I'll see you again next time.
All right, man.
And that's a wrap for my chat with Josh Turner. Tobes, there was a number of things in there that I particularly wanted to reflect on. The first was database building and prospecting. I mean, over and over again, we hear just how valuable having an email list is. And we teach a lot of social media, and a lot of what we teach is actually using social media to get people to your website and to get people onto your email list. So that was something that Josh also was highlighting the importance of. And I think one of the best things, particularly with LinkedIn, but also for Facebook or Twitter, it's such a great tool for that first interaction or first few interactions with people. But the sooner you can get people over onto your own platform, which is your email list, the sooner you can do that, the sooner you have that much more intimate and meaningful relationship with people on your list. And you can then transition to what he calls step 4, which is the messaging machine, where you can then actually communicate with these people and deliver value for them over time. So that was some of the take-home things that I got from Josh, but I also just wanted to recap the fact that one of the best things I've done with my Facebook is literally put on the Facebook newsfeed eradicator, which blocks out on your computer anyway, blocks out the news feed. Because I used to find I would sometimes default to going to Facebook, see what it was doing, and before you know it, you've wasted tons of time. So if nothing else, try putting that free plugin on your Facebook and you literally get hours back each week. So depending on how much you're checking Facebook, I don't know, do you check it much, Toby? You're more disciplined than me normally on those sort of things.
Yeah, it comes and goes a bit. Yeah, so I haven't heard of the Facebook Eradicator though, so I'll definitely check that out for sure.
Yeah, it's one that I read on Noah Kagan's email one day and installed it and absolutely love it. There's actually been quite a few good tools that Noah's recommended on his newsletter. One I've got on the computer at the moment is called Flux. And what it does, because I'm more of a night owl than you, Tobes, like you're more of an early bird, I often find that, I'm getting into my zone writing or doing whatever at night, and I often stay up, probably a bit too late. And then I struggle to sleep because you've been staring at the computer screen often. So what this Flux thing does is it actually, you can set for whenever you want, but I set mine at like 10 o'clock. And then the actual color of the screen starts to go orange. And so it's supposedly much easier on your eye from going from like a bright white screen, say just writing in a Google Doc or something. It actually makes the whole screen gradually get darker and darker and more orange. So your eyes adjust, firstly, so you can sleep better. And secondly, it's like this reminder that, okay, it's getting late. It's probably time to go to bed.
When you can't see the screen anymore, it's time to opt out.
Yeah, when it's fully black. That's a neat one, for me anyway. And one thing I haven't started experimenting with yet that I have been meaning to is to set how people wake up to alarms typically?
Yeah.
Is something I wanted to try was setting a go to bed alarm So at a certain time, say 10 or 11, actually set an alarm in your phone so it reminds you to hit the sack, and then so you get a decent night's sleep without sort of staying up and up and up. So that's one I think Ramit Sethi was talking about on his one of the videos or emails or whatever that I've watched of his.
Yeah, cool.
Okay, so TJ, that brings the show to an end. Let's just recap and let everybody know that the show was brought to you by our book, Web Marketing That Works, and of course the free marketing templates. Head to bluewiremedia.com.au/book. You can download those. We intend to have these podcasts be very actionable and practical. So we do try and ask the questions that get to the meat of what we can actually take away and implement. And we would love your feedback. If you've got good feedback, bad feedback, questions, you name it, Tobes and I are available on email. I'm adam.franklin@bluewiremedia.com.au. And Toby is toby.jenkins@bluewiremedia.com.au. And if you enjoyed the show, we would love it if you left us a review on iTunes. It certainly does help our visibility and increase the number of downloads, which means that we can get more good quality guests like Josh on the show. But I'd just like to give a quick shout out to one of our recent reviewers, Janish Panja. Every episode drips with value and actionable content. He's given us 5 stars, which is lovely. He said, Adam knows how to get the most out of the amazing guests he has on the show. His strategies and lessons are very actionable and full of value. Sometimes I think he should be charging for this. This is a must-listen show if you want to know more about web marketing. So thank you very much, Janish. We certainly appreciate that. And if you do have 60 seconds now to head over to iTunes and leave us a rating or review, that would be very much appreciated. And to recap, you can get booked by Josh Turner at the link bluewiremedia.com.au/Josh. So Tobes, that is a wrap for today.
Another good show. Thanks, Eds.
Yeah, pleasure. Let's chat on the next show.